Hi, I'm going to show you how to use our income and expense tracker template. To begin with, let's start on the Register tab here, and you can start by adding your company name. Next, under Current Balance, this will calculate based on what we input in the following sections. You would start by putting the date here for the transaction, the account. You can choose from the drop-down menu. We have predetermined ones already. You can modify this by clicking on the Edit button here, and here you can change the color, you can change the name, you can add or remove any item as you'd like. If you do make any changes, make sure you click on Done, Apply to All, and then X out of Data Validation Rules. Next, you have the transaction number. You can keep track of the transaction. Next, we have the payee or description. You can choose from the drop-down menu. Now, the drop-down menu, this one will pull directly from the payee's information. So you can modify this or change this, and it will update under payee or description for the drop-down. So in this case, let me give you an example. Let's just do a test. I added that to the bottom. I included it. I go to register. Now I can click on anyone, and I would find test. Let's remove that. Go back, and test is no longer there. Next, we have the income. Well, the type you can choose from income, expense, or transfer. You can modify this by clicking on the Edit button. Again, you can modify the color, the name, add or remove any item as you'd like. Always remember to click on Done, Apply to All, and X next to Data Validation Rules. Next, under Categories, you can choose from the drop-down menu, which this drop-down menu is going to pull directly from your summary. Now, your summary is where you're going to keep track of everything that you want to have visibility on, your transfers, your sales, so on and so forth. So when we put here, I'll show another one. Let's do a test. That will show up under our register, and we have test down here under category. Let's go back to summary, and let's remove that. And we no longer have test on our category section. Next, you have the receipts. You can add an image here. You can add a memo for the transaction, and then here it's the amount. So if it's a positive amount, we just simply insert $2,000. If it's a negative amount, too much. If it's a negative amount, then we would put -5, for example, or let's say -50 on this one, because we know that it's a negative amount and we spent that amount. The running balance is going to calculate based on what we add here. So to give you an example, our running balance right now is $1,071 with 1 cent. If we have a transaction and we purchase something for $100, so -100, it's going to deduct it, and that's going to give us our running balance. And the current balance is always going to calculate and update on its own as well. Next, let's move on to our summary tab. In our summary tab, we have the breakdown per month, what our starting balance is, and our ending balance or ending cash is at the end of the month, and it pulls to the next month, so what we start off with and what we end up with in ending cash for that specific month, so on and so forth. Next, we have a breakdown on category. You can choose from this drop down menu here. If it's transfer, your transfers, balance, if it's a transfer, so on and so forth. You can modify this by clicking on the Edit button here, change the color, add or remove any item as you need. This will auto-populate and will pull the information for each month accordingly based on the category that we have next to it and where it's pulling from. For this case, it's sales. We had $2,000 in sales, but we have a negative number here. Again, these are just random numbers that we've added for demonstration purposes. Next, we have a total at the end, which is going to calculate the total amount that we've spent, let's say, for example, on interest income. In this case, there's nothing there, so there's not going to be information. It shows you by month how much you're spending, or specifically by month the income or expense. And then we have a monthly average, so you can calculate or have an idea of an average per month. Next, we can move on to the Payees tab. Again, this is where you can add or remove any of the payee or description. You can keep track of more information such as phone number and address for the payee. And that's how you would use our income and expense tracker template.